Please join me in welcoming Kevin Cottam on the virtual stage. Over to you, Kevin.
Hello, 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 everybody. It's great to see you. Thank you so much, Aggie, for that wonderful introduction. And also, it's wonderful to see people from Europe as well as Africa, as well as in Singapore, where I live. And thank you so much. So, yeah, this is probably a very big topic for a lot of people, and we talk about trust in an awful lot, not only personally but also organizationally. And I want to say that it is really the true terrain. And as what we're talking about is your map doesn't match the terrain. Let us look at not only how the map and how you see this terrain, which is trust. And as we know, there is a lot of challenges in the world, and trust is sometimes a little bit, it's a challenge for us to trust. But I would like to share with you some stories with regards to nomadic cultures and how they perceive trust and how they look at trust. So let us just dig in. You ready to dig in? Yeah, I'm sure. Let's go. Okay. So with this trust terrain, I want you to think about, oops, I got myself the wrong click. Is trust is fragile, as I mentioned. It is we often say, okay, it takes a long time to build trust and it takes a nanosecond to remove trust. So it really is dependent. But the connection that we have when we deal with trust is really a true currency. And that will help in the terrain, which is trust, is that connection. And then movement builds the belonging. So the movement is extremely important. Understanding that everything is a movement, which I've been talking about for all of the episodes, and trust is also not is movement. It is constantly evolving and shifting, and that is within us as well as how we see it with others as well. So let us. So when we do this, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the latest data. And you'll see that in institutions from 2005 to 2025, you will see that in businesses, that actually it has increased. Now, many of you may say, I'm not sure if it's really increased in organizations. But apparently through the data from McKinsey and PwC and a variety of other companies that have done a lot of research on this, is that it has risen to about 62 to 63%. Government, on the other hand, has gone down, and from 50% to 45%. Media is pretty much flattened. And also in NGOs, it has lifted from 68% to 70%, and mostly because it's social. And it's also extremely important about the service to others. So this, I think, is extremely important for us to see as a setup that, okay, that we are having challenges in different parts of our parts of our lives and parts of the different geopolitical aspects of where we are organizationally, economically, that in these uncertain times that a lot of aspects are shifting and changing. So where is this really a shift and change? And so let us just talk about that for a moment. It is in the business, the trust is truly a haven, and it is really a true currency within organizations, as we know. And as you know, also that in coaching and a variety of aspects that we look at trust, we talk about this value, incredible value. And for organizations, they are expected to lead on societal issues within the organization and external. And trust is a gap as well. There's gaps with this, and that is creating the social anxiety and disinformation which is happening. And so this is becoming a problem for a lot of people. And as we see through social media and we see all of this disinformation, we don't know what is true. And I would say that's probably correct, right? And then there's also this urgency within organizations that in actual fact, the trust is a strategic asset to develop, yet often they're ill-equipped. I know for myself when I'm working with organizations is that trust always comes up as to, oh, this is our true value. However, when you dig deeper, often that trust is not truly there for a variety of reasons. And I'm going to share with you some of those reasons, which might be interesting for you with regards to the nomadic, how they look at trust. All right. So as you know, leaders and professionals, decision makers, curious minds, all of you it's important to have trust. And we need to look at trust from a different lens in some ways. And I'm going to share with you that. This last few days, I've been working with Novartis, and trust has come up especially yesterday in the work that we did. And how we looked at it. And we'll look at it in a different way today as well. So are you ready to move to explore more trust? Yes? Yes? Good. Hands, hands, hands. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Excellent. Okay. Fantastic. All right, let's get going. So before we get there, let us have a few questions answered in the chat, please. So the range is between 1 and 10, absolutely disagree on 1, and 10, absolutely agree. So the first question is, when someone breaks my trust, I find it difficult to rebuild it. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you share? What do you say? Where are you at with this vote? 6, 5, 8, 7, 10, 6, 8. Wow. Okay. Very cool. Thank you so much. Second question. I find it challenging to fully trust leaders or teams in my workplace. Or it could be anything in your life, but in people, but if it's not just your workplace. So let me see. 7, 4, 5, 3. Okay, we have a nice range. That's what I was hoping for. Fantastic. All right. Yes. Okay, great. Now, third question. I actively take steps to repair trust when it is broken in relationships or work. This is this comes into a deep sense of who you are as well and where you want to get. Wonderful. Fantastic. I love it. A lot of coaches here and a lot of people that are in leadership. So this is wonderful to see. All right, great. It's nice that you work towards it. And that is a great experience of which we all have. So let us dig into a little bit more as to where we're going. And what if you looked at trust as a true terrain? So in other words, a terrain, a landing, it is our where we are. What if you looked at this from this perspective? Maybe you haven't looked at it from this term. And will help us in this journey with the nomadic mindset as being able to allow us to go in this direction. So the journey we're going to take today is that we're going to look at how nomads build trust through respect, presence, shared purpose, and many other focuses and values and behaviors. We will explore the trust model, which I've created through a nomadic and organizational lens. And then we will look at shifting your view, seeing trust as a movement, not a transaction. All right, here we go. And I dare you, as I dare you through all of them, I dare you to move to trust. All right. Now, when you come out of this is a whole desire is for you to recognize how trust is the terrain we walk on personally and organizationally. Apply trust model to strengthen relationships and teams and to see it from a very different perspective. Or maybe not necessarily a different perspective to jolt your memory and to jolt who you are as what's important to you within trust. To embody the nomadic mindset to rebuild and sustain trust in uncertain times. And in certain times, this is when we really have to hold on to this factor of trust and this terrain. So when I was in Morocco, I happened to have I believe that this Arab proverb came to me through some conversations. And in that, when a head starts to get hot, the other head must stay cool. So when they talk about trust, they talk about this from a point of view of hot and cold. And they share with us that when you get angry and when you get hot and the mind gets hot, then the trust will probably be broken. So you need to have the other mind ready, which is the cool mind. The mind that is mindful, is thinking broadly, is expansively, is looking at different possibilities, is looking at it from a very different perspective. And to look at how we regain this, or how do we look at the relationship itself. So this was told to me by Habib. And Habib said to me, while I was sitting with him in his tent. Now, Habib is the actual organizer. He's the curator of what's called the Casbah Museum. And that is in Guelmim, Morocco, which is in the south, in the footsteps of the Sahara, in the rocky Sahara. And here I am sitting in this incredible tent. And this is where he holds his office. And this is where he holds interviews, and he also holds relationships and guests and whatever. And you can see all sorts of items in there. And this is very reminiscent of his Casbah Museum. But he says very importantly one of the things is to have tea. And tea is one of the most important things for developing trust. And so tea is the tea ceremony, as in many different cultures, but in Moroccan culture, you need to know that their Moroccan tea is actually green tea. And in the north, they put mint with it. In the south, they don't put mint with it. And so in those little shot glasses, he will create and he will have us drink tea. And in that tea, we would take it back and then we would have more conversation. And then he would serve another one and we would have more conversation. And then he would serve another one. So there was always 3 cups of tea, but the tea kept running. And this was an important thing. And I will share with you a little bit more about that into another story as we go along. But this was important in understanding the basis of trust. And what they say is that trust is preset by respect. Now, often in our world, we say we haven't got trust, or the trust is weak, or we want to have more trust. But we forget one aspect in this value called respect. So when I was in Kenya and when I was in Morocco, it was the same story. And also in Mongolia, it was the same story. Is that they say we need to build respect first. We need to gain respect in actual fact. So how do you gain respect? And gain respect is very, very, it's not transactional. It is very much observing, and it's also listening, and it is also walking with the people. This is a movement. And in that, what they talk about is you have to prove yourself. First of all, to prove yourself, not just through, if we say education, but to prove in your work, it's prove that you are, how you are dealing with relationships, how you are proving to yourself. And remembering that to gain respect is to know that you are never alone, is that people are always watching you. They're watching you even in the sublime. They're also watching you from their unconscious. They are watching you. And this is how they're also gaining trust, by proving yourself. And the next thing is by walking your talk. So what you say, you must say always the same thing. So you must say what you're going to say to, if I say to Aggie, I have to say the same thing to Job. I have to say the same thing to Emmy. I must keep it consistent. It's congruent and consistent. That's so to be congruent and consistent in your words and deeds and actions. And they will judge you on this, but they're looking at respecting you. And so through these, they do that. And what they're saying here is that by gaining respect, you are then building trust. So I want to open this to a chat and to a question. Is what are your thoughts here about gaining respect first before you build trust? Or what is that type of element within? Do you agree, disagree, or do you have something else that you want to say? Because I think it would be great to hear from you. Looking forward to some of your chats on this. Totally agree, Marlena. Thank you. Agree. I mean, yeah, agree. Wow, we all agreeing to me. This is wonderful. No disagreement. Fantastic. Agree 100%, Radha. Okay. Isn't the same thing? No, I don't think it's the same thing. They are slightly different. Okay, agree. Wonderful. All right. So this is how nomads will look at gaining respect and building trust. And if we could think about this in organizations, I think that's important to bring that relationship and within our coaching as well, and how we deal with leaders and also others and teams, is that, well, how are we building that respect? It's through these actions, it's through these thoughts, it's through these discussions. And recently, as I was mentioning, through the work that I was doing with Novartis, they were understanding this and believing this, and also reciting and experiencing their experiences on how this works for them. To the next story. As you can see here, I am all dressed up as I'm moving around in the Rocky Sahara. So my group, my team, so my photographer, my guide, my translator, we all headed off across looking for a hut. And we found this one hut in the desert. And we stopped. And of course, in the first place, to gain respect and also to build that trust, you bring gifts. And the gifts you bring are sugar, rice, salt, and tea, of course. So there's a variety of different elements that you bring. And so then the host of the place, of this house and tent or whatever, they have to invite you in. So we were invited in. And so the conversation was quite interesting because the host is here and he's the master of the house and he's also the master tea maker. And as you can see the tea in the little shot glasses because we all were getting the different tea. And in this, there was a conversation that was going back and forth between my guide and the master. And I had no idea because it was in Arabic. And because my Arabic is very much down to one word, perhaps, inshallah, and that's about it. But the thing here was, I was curious to why. After 3 cups of tea, my guide said, and translator, he said, now you can ask your questions. And I thought, why now? Why? And so what happened was, I found out later was the reason this is doing, because the tea ceremony is gaining respect. It is learning so that we can trust this person. Because who is this person that looks like maybe a Lawrence of Arabia, you know? And I was told to dress this way, by the way. And also with this, he was saying that I was telling him all about you. I was telling him about your past, where you come from, all of the history, and also that you're spending time with different nomadic cultures. And so he was gaining this knowledge, so gaining information. And information is paramount for them. They call it safety for the road. The more information that you have, the safety, which builds towards more trust with an individual, or even could be a team or an organization if we extend that out. Is the gaining of information. And and then he, just to let you know, at the very end, he asked me a question. And his question was, what makes us similar? And he was talking about when I had visited the nomads in Mongolia and the Maasai in Kenya. He said, what makes us similar? And I was absolutely taken aback by that. And I said, it's humanity. Because humanity was pretty much the same all the way across. They had the same thoughts and ideas, and some of the statements that they said were all the same. And I thought, how are they learning this? Are they having some sort of call between each other? But no. And I believed at that point that the underpinning of all human beings is that we all are very similar in what we want and what's important to us. And one of the things is this is gaining trust, is gaining respect to build that trust. So we come to camels. Well, actually, not camels. We come to dromedaries. Now, do you know the difference between a camel and a dromedary? You can write it in here if you wish. What is the difference between a dromedary and a camel? Okay, yes. What is the difference? One or two? Yes, one or two humps. Very good. Okay. And do you know, though, where the camels are situated in the world and where the dromedaries are situated in the world? Because this makes a difference. Do you know where they are located? This is a little bit of anatomical and information. No. Okay, Marlena. In the desert. I suppose you could say where a desert is, but there's deserts in different parts of the world, right? No. All right. So it seems to be maybe the majority say, no, I'm going to share with you a piece of information. Then this is something biological. All right. So dromedaries are one hump, and they are seen in Africa, Northern Africa especially, and the Middle East. And then Central Asia and China and Mongolia, you will find camels. So here I am with my most delightful camel. I'm at a camel market. And in this camel market, I'm finding out about, I'm sorry, at a dromedary market. I am here with the droms, as they call them in short. And I ask the questions, right, around these drums. How do they choose drums? What do they think about drums? And he said, well, first of all, we look at the height, we look at the length, and we look at the size of this animal. We also look into their eyes. We open their mouth and look at their teeth, and we do all of that to see which is the better of the different dromedaries. But he said the most important thing is to understand what a dromedary is and why we have dromedaries. And this, I think, can help us all because not only individually, but also in organization. It's a funny metaphor, but it's a metaphor that can be related across human beings as well. So what they say is that dromedaries, one of the principles of a dromedary is to build strength. So when we think about building strength, so what do? They buy them, and then they will slowly increase the weight on that they can carry so that they gain strength. And this is something that is important in how they build. And so because they need to be able to have the strength to go across the desert, carrying very big loads, and also to travel for 200 kilometers without drinking. And that also is important. So if you think about this as far as building or gaining respect and trust, building trust, is that you need strength. So in an organization and in teams, that we need to build this strength through education, through communication, through a variety of leadership principles about focusing on the vision. Is a strength and team values, which is moving towards specific goals? What is that strength? Do we have the right talent on board? The second is trusted hierarchy. The dromedaries have a very strong hierarchy. We have the elder of the top in the food chain, so to speak, and then he has sort of a harem of a group of different people, which is in his team, so to speak. But they are all in the hierarchy believing and gaining trust because there is a protection, there is safety, there is support, there is gaining all sorts of trust that they will be there to fend off any enemies or they will be there. And this is what happens with a group of dromedaries or even also in camels, but they talk about dromedaries here. So that's trusted hierarchy. And this is also important within organizations because we talk about hierarchy and we want a trusted hierarchy. Now they like space to roam, these dromedaries. Space to roam. So how does this work in organizations? So space to roam is the space in the mind to think vastly, act narrowly, is to be able to look at your entire environmental space of where you work. Is it really a very tight space? What is the type of offices that we have? And all of this becomes the space to roam. So space to roam in our mind. So that movement in our mind, think, to be able to pause, to be able to find places to reflect, for example. Do we have this space? The space to roam is wandering is part of the nomadic culture and nomadic mindset. So these are important in developments of developing and gaining respect and trust. And then also understanding that dromedaries always remember. And he's told me a very funny story, which I didn't believe, but I will share it with you anyway. He says, yes, it's true, is that he said that you never frap a camel. So frap in French means hit, all right? So you never hit a camel or a dromedary. And why? So he said that there was a story of this owner of a variety of different dromedaries, and he kept on frapping this drum, the head drum. And so at one point when the owner was off in his tent, the head drum took all of the females and they left. And they left for 2 years, apparently. And eventually the owner found them and they made up. And it became a very sweet story, but at the same time, understanding that what was the point here is that they left because they were being assaulted, they were being disregarded, they were being disrespected, and so there was no trust there. The drones did not have the trust in their leader. And so what happens within organizations then? when you insult or whether you treat people poorly, where there is a lack of psychological safety, where you do not have this respect. And this happens in organizations. And there's also people that have biases to or judgments towards people. And this I hear on an ongoing basis through my coaching. And so what happens is that there becomes lack of respect for this leader. And so therefore, you obviously don't trust them. I want to ask you, have you ever had these experiences of where some of these building strength, trusted hierarchy, speaking to a space to roam, always remember any of these aspects which happen within organizations and even in sometimes friendships and relationships happens. Have you ever had this type of experience where you have lost respect for them? Yes. Fantastic. Yes, I know it's hard sometimes, isn't it? It's not very. I have seen toxic companies. Yes, yes, I know that you have retech. I know you've talked about them quite often. Yes, it's hard. So in this metaphor, it may seems a very strange metaphor, but we truly can learn that nature teaches us. And nature and the animal kingdom treat us how we also ought to treat others as humans, as well as animals. And as you know, and I know people that have dogs, if you don't treat the dog well, they are certainly not going to respect you. And they may, you know, start, peeing all over the house, or they will start losing their control, or they barking and biting at you. And then you'll have bad behavior and you think a dog psychologist, but it's because of what they have lost in the respect. But you can gain it back. All right, hopefully. Now, let's move on to the trust model, which is a way for us to look at trust from a different perspective as well. So let's have a look. So here we go. We're going to go through this model that I've created. And these are the 5 different letters that represent trust. And these are what go into trust, and parts of values and parts of different attitudes as to way and behaviors that we can use to gain trust at the same time as in building. So let us dig into it. The first one there is transparency. So I'd just like you to put into the chat, what does transparency mean to you when you think about trust and you think about leadership? What does it mean to you? Yes, openness, authentic, no agenda. Nice. Authenticity, be honest and clear, open communication, not hiding facts, authentic. Right. Honesty. Right. Shared understanding, no hidden designs. Excellent. Excellent. Yes. Transparency, honesty. Yeah, very much so, huh? So in this, I would like to share with you a little bit more of the different aspects of this. So open sharing, communication, as you talk, honesty has come up big. Authenticity, absolutely. Standing by your word, community, psychological safety, alignment in uncertainty. So yeah, you've got it all down pat here. And now the next one is respect, as it would be. And we talked a lot about that already. So here are some of the factors and also the behaviors and the qualities that go into this respect, building that. So deep connection with the elders, nature, ritual, space, active listening, observing, cultural sensitivity, honor diversity, mutual dignity, and common ground alignment. All of these are different additives to what the the nomads have said about how you gain to respect. These are some other ways that you gain respect as well. Next is unity. So I would like you to think about this for a moment, and in the chat, I would love to hear what you have to say about unity and how does unity play into trust and within organizations and how you trust another individual or a team or a leader. Shared values and goals. Great. Fantastic. Common goals and objectives. Right. Shared values and goals, understanding of the differences. Act and work as a team as one. Alignment. Yeah, alignment is fantastic. To see and hear each other. Synergy. Yes, absolutely. Fosters a sense of security. Absolutely. Integration. Wonderful. Okay, great. Fantastic. Moving in the same day. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, here are some other thoughts. You are never alone, as I mentioned. So there are others around you. Movement in harmony is what you're talking about as well. Collaboration over competition, shared responsibility interdependence. We thinking inspires collective intelligence, cohesion in fragmented times. And the values are also within that as well. It's this part. And this one may get you is stillness. Stillness. You may think, why stillness? Some people have asked me, and my coaching super says, stillness. Oh, how beautiful that is. What does this mean for you as far as trust? What can that bring? What can this bring to helping you? Pause and reflect. Yes. Calm and collected. Insight. Yes. Time for connection. Comfortable trust. Yes. The pause between stimulus and response. Yes, love that. And I trust calm people more than nervous ones. Yes, absolutely. Great. Overwhelming, it can be too powerful for self. Yes, absolutely. Self-reflection and clarity. Being human, not machine. Serenity, listening. Yeah. Stillness. It is really a mindfulness, in this. So movement, balanced by stillness, sensing, pausing, reflecting, realigning, deep listening, presence, inner stability, space for empathy, clarity, respond rather than react. All of what you've said, and these as well. So this is what is important in building this trust as well. And the last one is tenacity, the building of tenacity, how important this is. What is tenacity? What does it mean for you in this particular aspect of trust? And how does it play into the role of trust? Drive innovation, reliable, commitment to work together. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Not giving up in the relationship. Yeah. Keeping a resilience. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Doing what you say you do. Yes. All of these overcoming disagreements. Very important, Val. Absolutely. Disagreement. I'm sure that we've all had moments of tenacity. One of the things that happened once when I was a filmmaker and I wanted to get on this show as a director's assistant because I was just learning at the time. And I kept on phoning the production manager, and the production manager said, would never answer my calls for like 3 months. And I needed to get the answer from her. Eventually, I got her on the phone and she says, well, I have received all of your messages, and because you're so tenacious, I will take you on. So I guess it worked in the sense that tenaciousness is important, and so she trusted me in my desires also. All right. So these are the aspects. These are different integration. These are different parts of that beautiful trust, and also at the same time as gaining respect. And this is that whole bundle of what builds this beautiful trust that we can have with each other. And so I want to allow you to think about this and tenaciousness and see what else can happen. So think about this as a model for when you are developing trust or even thinking about trust, and to see it from different angles, different perspectives, and how you can build this. And this also relates to the three different mindsets. And of course, through the different mindsets, it is also very much paramount within all of them, especially in the nomadic one, because I'm looking at it from a nomadic lens. But as a builder, it's the same. We all have this within us. We have settler within us, but we can look at trust and respect from a very different perspective through this. And this truly is a terrain. You know, if you look the pictures behind Job and also Aggie, is that you see a terrain. And this terrain of trust is quite expansive, right? And it behooves you to start exploring it from just not the word trust, but the other elements which make it up. And if you haven't already, there's maybe some stillness in that, in the reflection of it. So trust, extremely important. Now, I'll just come to this last story, is that when I was sitting in a yurt in Mongolia and I was having a chat with Esso, who was my guide and translator, and she said something that was very interesting to me. She says, "We don't do fear." And I was absolutely taken aback by what does she mean by we don't do fear? I was going, what does that mean? We don't do it. And I could see the courage in her and the conscious and the consistency and it's the tenacity with her and her. She said to me the following words: "We are not driven by fear, we are driven by trust." Interesting, driven by trust. We trust in our ability to maintain the nomadic mindset amidst the changes brought by urbanization in life. And that is something of an uncertainty, right? And in that uncertain times, this is what they hold on. They're driven by that trust and their ability to understand this nomadic mindset, the mindset within them. And by adapting to the new things and opportunities, that allows them to embrace the positive. So this is about the adaptation as well. But if they don't trust themselves, they don't trust the situations, they don't trust in this, they don't see the window. However, because they do trust in themselves and the nomadic mindset, they allow themselves to see this from a bigger picture. So I leave you with this now. I leave you with the importance of what is trust, and trust as your true terrain. Remember that trust is fragile, but we have many, many roads in the terrain so that we can build it again. Connection is currency, so part of that is important. Movement builds belonging. But when I say movement, it's that movement because all of the aspects of transparency, respect, and trust and unity and stillness and tenacity are all in movement. Everything is in movement and shifting all the time. So we are always in uncertain territory at times, and also we may feel it's certain, but there's uncertainty within uncertainty. There's uncertainty in certainty on an ongoing basis. All right, I leave you with this, and I dare you, as you move forward, to move and to trust. Are you ready to reimagine trust as a living, moving force? Yes? Maybe a show of hands? Yes, and some smiles. Fantastic. Are you ready to build trust by embodying transparency, respect, unity, stillness, and tenacity? Yes or no? Yes. Good. And are you ready to embrace trust in these uncertain times so that you can see it from a different perspective, find the opportunities? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes. Fantastic.